doing this for very long, so I have pretty bad imposter syndrome. It could also be because I'm using a fake name. My real last name is Lichty, which is just like a little bit too Third Reich-y for me. But I feel bad, because this is the name that's been in my family forever. And when my German ancestors first came to America, they crossed the Atlantic and they got to Ellis Island, and they had to shorten it to assimilate. The original name, which I want to make sure I pronounce correctly because, like all things, it's much more elegant in German, was Lichty's Nuts. That's right. All of that for a D's Nuts joke. I'm pretty proud of myself. It was a long drive out here from Bozeman. I was listening to SZA in the car with my dad. Any SZA fans out there? No? It's a pretty white crowd, so I'm not surprised. Listening to SZA, and she has this great song called Doves in the Wind. And Doves in the Wind, it's like an anthem. To put it delicately, it's about like pussy. The big refrain is pussy is like doves in the wind. And mine's not, but good for her. And then Kendrick Lamar comes on, and he's just a brilliant lyricist, and he delivers this line, and it's so profound. It's a real line. Look it up after the show. How many men get mistaken every day for clitorises? Pulitzer Prize winner Kendrick Lamar asking the question we've all been wondering. It's a real line. How many men get mistaken for clitorises? None. Would be an accurate estimate. But I like to imagine a young Kendrick who's, he's ready to take on the world, but he's also burdened by this affliction that he cannot discern fully grown men from clitori. He's walking down the street with his buddy and he's like, no. Is that a clit? Or maybe it's just like the men in his life were really sensitive and hard to find. I mean, how do you remedy that? How do you diagnose that? Is there some sort of special Rorschach test? Did they have to sit down with some child psychiatrist from Missoula who was like, Lamar family, please call me Tara, and this is a safe space, and we're here today to talk about Kendrick's clitoral affliction. And Kendrick's all defensive, like, it's not my fault that Dad's mole looks like a pleasure bean. And the dad's all defensive because he's like insecure about his masculinity. And the mom's like, that's true, it does kind of look like Satan's doorbell. And the dad's like, it does not. And the mom's like, how would you know? You've never found mine. And then Tara's like, ain't that right, sister? And they show this weird moment of feminism that kind of implies that they've both slept with the dad. And then the dad's like, how would Kendrick even know what a clit looks like? He's 8. And this is a great question. But even Tara from Missoula doesn't want to take it. And then in the back, in an altogether different moment of feminism, Granny's rediscovering hers, And there's crying, and there's screaming, and there's geriatric masturbation. And Kendrick's getting none of it. And that's why, to this day, folks, Kendrick Lamar still cannot tell man from clit. It's not a true story, but that's, it is what it is. It's Saturday, July 9th. I know you've all been drinking. I thought I'd catch you up. It's June. Last month it's July. It was June. Next month it'll be October. This is real. Look it up.
October.
October, is that what I said? August? Is that months? I've been drinking, so. So it is July. Last month was Pride Month. Woo! Great month. One of the top 12 months, in my opinion. Last month, Pride Month, and a lot of you might not know this, but this month is actually Shame Month. Just in case you were feeling too much pride. Sorry, there's a lot of like millennials around here. You might not know what shame is. But like women and Catholics have been celebrating for centuries. Woo, yeah, give it up for Catholics feeling shame. I love it too. Yeah, so it's Shame Month. There are a few groups though who I think maybe aren't feeling enough shame in their lives. And so if you see them out and about, just like send a little shame their way. First would be like people who ride bird scooters or any electric scooter. I'm anti. Up next on that list we have owners of truck nuts. No one asked for that. Third, and this one's a little controversial because we're in Montana, but fans of the Dave Matthews Band. I know. Crash Into Me isn't a masterpiece. Stop pretending that it is. And then last on that list I had Californians in Montana. Yes. I know. Woo, give it up. Give a big cheer if you hate Californians. I want to hear you. So growing up in San Francisco, I took a lot of acting classes, and I thought I was like the Meryl Streep of the acting class, of Miss Taylor's second grade acting class. I thought it was so good. And then I started watching porn. And as I was sitting there in math class, watching Alexis Texas act her tits off, sorry, I want to clarify, that was a figure of speech. Some of you look like you might be concerned. Like, you, sir, you look like you think about Alexis Texas a lot. Mm-hmm. I want to assure you all, she's fine. I mean, she's not fine. She's going through an existential crisis, but her tits are fine. That's what's really important. Yeah, my parents are here. They're now learning that I know the names of porn stars. That's fun. Yeah, so I was watching her and I realized I have about the acting talent of a porn star. And that raises a bigger question of what is the overlap between the world's worst actresses and the world's best porn stars? I know, loaded question. It's difficult because those categories aren't totally distinct. Sometimes you move to LA to become one and you end up as the other. How many young actors have moved to California, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, ready to be the next Scarlett Johansson, only to end up in another Asian furry gangbang? Admittedly, they are still bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. But it's different now. Yeah.
It's really your grandparents that are throwing
no, my grandparents are here too. It's a whole. Our relationship might be a little bit different after this. And that raises other questions. So, what even is porn? When does HBO become porn?
Well,
I know, exactly. I bet you all weren't expecting this porn bit to get this philosophical, but here we are. So if someone winks alone in the forest, does it even make a sound? Maybe porn is in the groin of the consumer. My grandma really liked that one. Isn't a bit, just an unfortunate circumstance. I first felt horny watching The Princess and the Frog. True story that I thought I would share with a room of strangers. In my defense, that movie has everything: food, jazz, amphibian mucus. But does that make The Princess and the Frog porn? Or does that make me a frogophile? Just some things to think about during Shame Month. Like I'm getting played off at the Oscars right now. Yeah, so because my grandparents are here, I want to prove to them that I can make jokes about things that aren't like porn and clits. So let's talk about something a little more PG, strip clubs. Yeah. There's a strip club in Portland, Oregon called Casa Diablo. Please look it up after the show. It's excellent. Some facts about it. They only have $2 bills. All of the food is vegan, and all of the dancers are vampires. This raises some questions. Who is this for? Do the dancers have to wear traditional 14th century Transylvanian garb? Whose grandma is providing all these $2 bills? Hoping it's not you, but I don't think it would be. You would never go to Oregon. And then, so I thought to give you guys a little more info on the place, I would tell you some very, very real reviews that were left on the Google sites. These are real reviews that I absolutely made up. First was not enough meat, 1 star. We've all been there. Next was the girls weren't lively enough. It's a vampire joke for you. And this last one, it was a little bit longer. It was left by a woman, but you know how women. And it was, I really liked this place. I ended up dating one of the dancers. He was a great guy. The only issue was he couldn't come inside me without an invitation. I told that joke to my mom, and she said, I don't get it. And I didn't know if I had to explain more about vampires or if she thinks she's the real Virgin Mary. So vampire strip clubs. My grandparents are here. I need to keep saying that because it's all that's going through my head. I am a feminist, if my pants didn't give me away. Being a feminist is fun. Being a feminist, there's these men that come up to you. You know them, your Brads, your Thads, your Chads. Anyone here a Chad? Yeah, good. Keep that to yourself. No one needs to know that. Yeah, they come up to you and they're like, but Claire, if you're a feminist, does that make you a feminazi? Oh, Chad. Oh, sweet sexist Chad. Yes, it absolutely does. You see, I think we shouldn't discriminate on the basis of sex or gender, much like world-renowned champion of women's rights, Hitler. Those are the same. They'll also come and they'll go, Claire, if you're a feminist, does that mean you hate men? Oh, Chad. Oh, sweet, simple Chad. Of course I don't hate men. Men are great. Give it up for men, everyone. They've never done anything wrong. No, men are great. I love men. I don't respect men. But I love them. Men are so generous, okay, maybe not with power, or money or rights, but with information. Countless times in my life, I've been given information by a man that I did not even have to ask for. It was Eli. Or men are so eloquent, you have Shakespeare, you have Bob Dylan, you have Wordsworth. On a really similar note, a stranger stopped me on the street the other day and said, thunder scares me, guys. A stranger stopped me on the street the other day and said, you have weird shaped tits. And those are the same, eloquence-wise. You can hear the inspiration, you can tell he's a poet. One thing I do think about men and people in general is I think we should bring back the word broad. I don't hear it enough. I've never been called a dumb broad, and it's something I so desperately want. I love using the word broad because it makes me feel like an 80-year-old racist. And you don't know that I'm not. I am old for my age. I've always been old for my age. I was one of those kids where people would say to my parents, wow, she's really wise beyond her years. But that's just a polite way of saying, wow, your kid's a pretentious asshole. Why is your 8-year-old reading Kafka? She seems like she won't fit in with her peer group. And they were right, so. Yeah, in 3rd grade, I wrote and delivered a 20-minute speech about how you cannot feel happiness without sadness, and so we should savor the pain in our lives. I was 8 years old, I couldn't spell savor, and the pain in my life was that mommy wouldn't let me eat ice cream. Needless to say, it did not resonate with my audience. And then Joey McCauley got up and he delivered some derivative anecdote about how one time he ate a bug and it was gross, and I'm clearly not still resentful about it. I definitely didn't become a comedian just to prove to him that I could be engaging. Yeah, so I've always been old. It's not just emotional though, it's physical. So I had to get my bone age tested when I was 9. Anyone else? No? Yeah, that makes sense because it's not a thing people do. I had to get my bone age tested because they were worried I was growing too quickly, and that's insulting. Because it means somebody saw me at 9 and was like, wow, she looks terrible. And then my parents agreed with them to the point where they drove me to a doctor's office that was not my regular doctor and probably had to pay out of pocket to give me an MRI. That's how old I looked. As it turns out, that was valid because my bones are 2 years older than my brain and my age. So to any older gentlemen out there, I have the brain of a 22-year-old, but the fibula of a 24-year-old. Sorry, I'm trying to be a slut, but I don't have daddy issues. So it's not really working out. He's out here supporting me being a comedian, giving me nothing to work with. Fuck you. Please keep paying for my life. Yeah, good stuff. I went through puberty really early. So I went through puberty really early. So guys, I'm really scared. Woo! Mother Nature is feisty, but she's on her period. I went through puberty really early. So the result was I had the body of a 16-year-old, the brain of an 11-year-old, and the clothing choice and face of a 9-year-old. I basically looked like a lady of the night with an hourly rate of $4. That's a direct quote from my mother. She said that to me. My grandma also liked that one. Good stuff. I was reading recently that Alzheimer's has been linked to swearing and bad driving. And that is how I found out that I have Alzheimer's. And that's a lot to deal with on top of the fucking speeding ticket I got last week. And I know you're all thinking, Claire, you can't have Alzheimer's. You only look like you're 40 or 45. Honeyans, stop flirting with me. I'm actually 68. I know a lot of you don't believe me, probably because I just said I was 22. But like I said, also an imposter. I am 68. Just to prove it to you, I have terrible hearing. I am playfully homophobic. And I know what a floppy disk is. It's a frisbee that needs Viagra. Once it takes it, it gets a flash drive. Just, your classic technology / frisbee / boner jokes. That we all have them. From your favorite German imposter. Thank you so much, Evan Clark.